Right, you know, we haven't had any rain for 3.5 months.
What happened to all the snow typically found on Mount Rainier?
The snow ebbs and flows. It's very cyclical.
Plus some good news about the Alaska Glacier that's in a surge of water into Juneau.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Tropical Storm Erin remains on pace to become a hurricane, but probably not until tomorrow. This morning, the storm is slightly stronger than it was yesterday, but by the weekend, it should rapidly intensify into a major hurricane. Meteorologist Riley Blackwell is tracking Erin this morning.
We have Tropical Storm Erin that has started to strengthen a little bit, upwards of 50 miles per hour, moving to the west at 17 miles per hour. Pressure still isn't looking all that great. You need more of a significant pressure drop, usually below 1,000 millibars to start seeing significant intensification, but it's still forecast to intensify into a Category 1 hurricane by Friday, becoming a major hurricane likely still by early Sunday morning. And there is potential this thing could try to make a run at a Category 4 hurricane, but confidence is still high that no U.S. landfall is expected. All major global and hurricane models keep this a very sharp northward turn with this Bermuda high. Now, unfortunately, the island of Bermuda will likely be impacted by this, really no matter what strength it is. But the main issue for the eastern seaboard of the U.S., likely going to be a dangerous rip current risk.
When Erin becomes a hurricane, it will be the first time we've had Hurricane Erin since September of 2001. Meteorologist Emily Gracie looks at the connection between the storm and that fateful day.
September 11, 2001. While the nation's attention was focused on the horrific attacks in New York and Washington, few Americans knew that just a few hundred miles offshore, Hurricane Erin was spinning in the Atlantic Ocean and moving towards the United States. It began as a tropical wave off Africa on August 30th and became a hurricane on September 8th. By the 9th, it was a Category 3, coming within 100 miles of Bermuda. As it continued to move west toward the U.S., a weather pattern set up across the Northeast, acting as a barrier to keep Erin from land. A recent cold front had passed and high pressure was building in, delivering those deceptively beautiful conditions in the Northeast on the morning of September 11th. Erin took a sharp turn away from the U.S. coastline, never becoming a landfalling hurricane. Despite reaching major hurricane status, no casualties or damage was reported from Erin. Now, 24 years later, another Erin is brewing in the Atlantic, and this time it has the country's full attention. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
And now to flash flooding in Tennessee, where nearly 7 inches of rain fell Tuesday night, the second highest rainfall in Chattanooga history. Unfortunately, the flooding left at least 4 people dead. Among them was a mother, father, and their 3-year-old daughter. They were killed when a tree fell on their car. Now, many cars and trucks were stranded on Interstate 24 as all that water quickly rose around the region. First responders rescued dozens of people from the roads and from inside their homes as well. We have 2 reports this morning, starting with McDoyle and East Ridge, just south of Chattanooga.
A traumatic evening for East Ridge residents who had to be evacuated from their homes by raft.
4 souls, 2 cats.
Rhonda Kelly was one of those residents after water came pouring into her home.
Anyway, I'm out. That's the blessing.
First responders and county leaders surveyed the damage left behind by the historic flash flood.
All that water coming down here.
Floodwaters rising nearly 2 feet at the Cascade Motel, forcing residents to evacuate. You can see here water from that flash flood lifted up the asphalt in this East Ridge parking lot. We spoke with businesses and homeowners who said this flash flood was like nothing they've ever seen before.
As these roadways on I-24 began to look more like a river.
We all worked as a big team and communicated with each other on where can we help, who's doing what, and what does it take to get it done.
Rescues like this took place to get several people out of their stranded cars.
And that's a substantial storm. That's well beyond the standards of what our projects are designed for.
This area of the interstate is part of a multi-year project to widen bridges and add more lanes to ease congestion. Chattanooga Mayor Tim Kelly said how that construction affected the flooding is worth investigating. But TDOT's regional director Danny Oliver says he's sure the flooding on the interstate was not directly caused by their construction.
There was also flooding in El Paso, Texas. First responders rescued several people from cars stalled in flooded streets Tuesday night. A slow-moving storm dumped more than an inch of rain in a short amount of time on the West Texas city. The water appeared to overwhelm some drainage systems. In Alaska's capital city of Juneau, the Mendenhall River crested at a new record high on Wednesday after a massive wave of water escaped from a glacier late Tuesday morning. Officials say the flooding was not as bad as expected because of flood barriers installed last year that helped protect the city from major damage. Now, some areas did see minor flooding, though it's unclear how many homes were actually impacted here. These floods have become a yearly hazard since 2011, fueled by melting ice linked to climate change. A wildfire broke out yesterday north of Salt Lake City, Utah. Evacuation orders are in place and at least 100 homes are now at risk. The fire started after a car caught fire and flames spread to nearby brush. Now, officials say high winds and dry conditions caused the flames to quickly spread. Brian Will has more.
I was worried about it because it's been so dry. You know, it ain't rained for 3.5 months.
We've always been a little nervous about it.
Tammy Scholerman and her family were out enjoying their pool when they noticed a little bit of smoke rising into the air on the mountain behind their home. It was around 2 on Wednesday afternoon when they first noticed this smoke.
Started with just some smoke over here, and I did call 911, and then it just started growing, and it went to about three different fires.
Another neighbor, Gary Hoxler, called 911 when he got home and saw the flames.
And it moved up into here. This is where it got really bad.
From trucks to planes and even helicopters dousing the fire right above this neighborhood, which quickly spread to more than 150 acres. Now these homeowners are waiting in the dark to see if their homes are safe from this fire.
Our power is out, and we did just get a notice to evacuate.
A long night ahead for those right in the path of the flames.
We get the drainage winds at night, which blow back down the mountain.
If the wind changes direction, that'll be a problem.
It's been a hot, dry summer in Vermont, and that's not good news for farmers. Many see signs that crops desperately need water. Lucy Gale has more from about 13 miles south of the Canadian border.
These brown leaves of the corn plant is cannibalizing itself to conserve moisture.
Patches of this Irisburg farm scorched by the August sun.
The leaves here are curling to preserve the moisture that's in the plant.
But the bulk of Richard Nelson's corn is on the threshold of greatness.
We'd really like some rain right now so we have big ears.
Nelson says the spring was kind to the crop, and right now the crop is making ear, a vital time to push through until harvest.
The last 2 years with the excess moisture, we've lost 35 to 40% of our crop. And this year we had a chance to be at 120% of a crop.
He says the potential is there, but they need some water. Rain helps get pollen down on the silk to make the cob. The dry, newly seeded acres of land his team worked on the past few days are thirsty, with dust flying all over.
Until we get rain, it will continue to look like this. It's a concern. We're dry right now. You know, I mean, the woods up here are lush still. We're not as bad as some places.
Corn lovers worry not. Nelson says the crop has been bred for drought tolerance, so it has the ability to overcome these conditions.
And coming up on the National Weather Desk, golden oyster mushrooms are taking over forests in northern Michigan. We'll look at the unique way officials plan to deal with that issue. And we're going to show you how hurricanes get their names.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have slightly cooler temperatures or less hot temperatures moving into the region for our Thursday. Look, very partly sunny sky this morning. Temperatures this afternoon, they'll top out in the 80s. There's the chance for a midday or afternoon shower or thunderstorm. If you get one, it won't last very long. That'll be making its way off to the east pretty quickly. And more importantly, we're looking at a drier and less humid air mass moving in for Friday. Temperatures will be a little bit cooler, running the upper 70s and low 80s.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. The front that's moving through will continue to bring just a few showers and storms along it moving through your Thursday afternoon. But the front will start to clear off to the south, and that system is on the way out. So we're looking drier for your Friday, only a stray shower at worst possible. Temperatures are not going to dip a whole lot. Still going to be very warm as the front approaches. Upper 80s, low 90s, except for the mountains. We will see those temperatures still pretty warm into Friday, near 90 degrees.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs. Looking at Atlanta, 90 degrees, Charleston 87, Jacksonville 93, Mobile coming in at 90. Looks like we have sun and clouds to begin the day off. A few spotty showers around Columbia, South Carolina. Looks like we're along the I-95 corridor, a few spotty showers, sun and clouds mixed in through the day, but there could be some pop-ups across Jackson, Mississippi, over towards Birmingham, and then down the I-75 corridor.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
It's been a hot and dry summer for many places, but that's not the case in Iowa. Thanks to above average rainfall, drought conditions have dramatically improved across the state. Meteorologist Grayson Frun looks at the numbers.
July's statewide precipitation totaled 9.20 inches, more than double the expected amount, making it the second wettest July on record following July of 1993. As a result, the previously dry conditions have eased across the state, leaving Iowa now completely drought-free, with less than 1% of Iowa currently experiencing abnormally dry conditions. But looking ahead to the Climate Prediction Center's 8 to 14-day outlooks, these are hinting at below normal precipitation and above normal temperatures for parts of the state. While experts aren't as concerned about this sparking drought conditions, they are keeping an eye on the 3-month outlook.
Most of the state is leaning below normal below normal precipitation, so leaning drier. And the state is also leaning above average temperatures into the fall. So this is through October. There might be some concern, but we'll obviously see how these forecasts pan out.
Well, golden oyster mushrooms have started to invade parts of southern Michigan, and they could soon spread into other areas. Meteorologist Ethan Foreman explains why this is a concern and what can be done to prevent things from getting worse.
Golden oyster mushrooms are an invasive edible wood decay fungus. And so they're invasive because they're not native to North America, and they have been spreading in range really rapidly and increasing in their abundance and density.
Aishwarya Veerabahu studies fungus, also known as a mycologist, at the University of Wisconsin.
They're essentially the first cultivated mushroom that we know of that has kind of escaped and become so invasive.
But why the change? One of the leading causes, says Veerabahu,
climate change is pretty much going to enable a lot more of North America to become like suitable habitat So they'll have the right climatic conditions for golden oyster to almost double in its range.
And she says it has already spread into northern Michigan, but is worse downstate.
I don't think it's nearly as widespread there as it is in that southern half of Michigan, southern half of the Southern Peninsula. But if it's already gotten some foothold, it means that it can handle it.
Getting a foothold so quickly in just 10 years, the concern is it'll keep going, continuing to spread.
We are worried that this fungus, golden oysters, they grow through wood so rapidly and seemingly just chew their way through it. And so we are worried that it could accelerate wood decay, get rid of these dead wood habitats that are necessary for other organisms in the forest. And we're worried about maybe emissions that could increase from the wood that it's decaying.
And Wisconsin's archery and crossbow season for the 2025 deer hunt is still more than a month away. As Eric Peterson reports, when hunters take to the field, they'll be greeted with some changes.
At the edge of this Kewaunee County farm field, two very young deer feed Monday morning. DNR State Deer Specialist Jeff Pritzel says hunters will face new deer management units across the northern forest zone.
The units have changed to a numbered system as opposed to the county name. The boundaries of the units are now, roads and waterways, similar to what it was 10 years ago.
Pritzel says hunters will need to follow the new system when registering their harvest and when bonus antlerless permits go on sale next week.
We have units that are identified as needing to be more conservative. Those permits will be limited. But then also being able to carve out the areas where we know there are more deer can sustain more harvest opportunity. Permit levels are actually going to be more available in those parts of the north.
Pritzel says two relatively mild winters mean there are plenty of deer on the landscape. In the meantime, he says, for at least the next 3 years, habitat-based deer management units will be enforced across the North Woods.
In some areas, it might look like fall is already here as leaves are starting to fall from the trees. But as meteorologist Jeff explains, it's not the changing seasons, but the extreme heat that is causing trees to lose their leaves.
As the sun blazes down during the summer months, you may notice the leaves are actually starting to fall. Is this a sign that autumn is coming early? Well, not exactly. You see, some varieties of trees, especially like this birch tree back here, will start losing its leaves on purpose during dry spells, dry, hot spells during summer. And that's just a way for the tree to conserve water. So it's using the water for other part of the tree, so it's just shedding these leaves. So a lot of times this doesn't mean you have a disease or anything. It just means that you're in a dry spell in summer. So some of these varieties of trees, of course, will start shedding their leaves. Now, it also doesn't have anything to do with the upcoming fall or winter. So if you see these leaves coming down here in August, it's just a sign of a dry spell.
While some areas are dealing with falling leaves in Washington state, people are focused on snow. The snow or lack thereof on Mount Rainier has people worried. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell explains.
If we look back into social media, we'll see that this has been an ongoing concern because it gets widely spread and disseminated that way. This was a photo from Equal Motion Photography the summer of 2021. If you remember, Seattle that summer went through a giant heat wave. Late June, we hit 108 degrees in Seattle. The days on either side of that were also terribly warm. So even though we did have a good snowpack that winter before, that heat really did a number on the snow there atop our most famous volcanic summit there. Another picture, this was the summer of 2022, sent in by Ross Troxa. You can also see a lot of the exposed cliff sides versus just last summer. Easy Lorenz snapped this photo midsummer, and we had a lot more snow clinging on that particular season. A quick look at some of the snow totals that we have had up at Mount Rainier over the decades. It just tends to ebb and flow. The highest we had ever had was in the early 70s there, with over 1,100 inches of snow recorded at Mount Rainier there. It was just an incredible banner snow year. The lowest was more recent. It was the 2014-2015 year. Before that, though, you had to go all the way back nearly 100 years ago. That had the previous record for being the lowest. So this just is kind of a testament to the fact that the snow ebbs and flows. It's very cyclical. We're hoping that we go back up as we head into the coming decades. This season looking a little bit on the slimmer side. It's been a nice summer around here. We picked up a pretty reasonable amount of snow, a little bit on the lower side at about 75 to about 80% of normal, but slowly melting that off. It'll be fall and then winter before you know it. We'll try to build that back up here at Mount Rainier as we head into next year.
And time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over a flower farm outside Seattle, Washington.
Well, good Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Phil Kelly. We are going to see the heat really build here over the next few days. A little disturbance into the upper Midwest. Most of us will see sunshine and warm conditions. Mid to upper 80s into the mid 90s into the Central Plains. That heat will expand into the Ohio Valley as those 90s start to move off to the east. Some spotty rain up into the Great Lakes. Other than that, looking like a great weekend.
Good Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look to forecast across the region. Well, we're starting off in the 70s. We're dry across the region this morning. As we head through the afternoon, we'll bubble up some showers and thunderstorms, isolated to scattered at best. Temperatures seasonal in the 90s for most across the region. Activity fizzles after the sun goes down. For your Friday, a similar setup. Hot temperatures in the 90s with that isolated to scattered shower or thunderstorm chance.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, first up, you can see San Francisco is deep into so-called fogust because we're maxing out in the 60s there through the Golden Gate Bridge. All of that marine layer really keeping things cool around San Francisco and across the water toward Berkeley. 90s out of Boise, 106. That's a cooler day out of Phoenix. Big storm pushing into the northwest by late tonight. An atmospheric river on the way for western Washington. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
This morning, we've been talking a lot about Hurricane Aaron, but Aaron is just one in a long list of names this hurricane season. So where do these names come from? Meteorologist Vitas Breed explains.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. Want to give you an update on how hurricanes get their names. A lot of folks ask that question. How does that happen? Well, the World Meteorological Organization, the WMO, has 6 lists of names, and that list contains 21 names, both male and female, that rotate every 6 years. There is no Q name, U, X, Y, or Z, but the storms with significant damage, that's another point there, are retired and replaced, like Andrew or Katrina, but that is how they get their names. But as you can see, the season so far, we've had these storms, and it looks like so right now we have Aaron out there, and the next named storm will be Ferdinand. So that's the answer for how they get those names.
And we'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.